I have always made an effort to be a nice daughter. Jenna, the successful marketing executive who has never married or had children, is expected to do just that. In contrast to my elder siblings, Mark and Diana, who claim to be struggling financially and have their own families. Jenna is my name. I've been employed at the same marketing company for 8 years, and I'm 30 years old. I received a significant wage increase when I was promoted to senior management 3 years ago. My family's expectations of me have only increased since then. Jenna can cover the cost. "She's loaded" is now their go-to expression. For the past 3 years, I've been giving my parents $1,500 a month to help with electricity and food. I never get a direct thank you from my parents for it. They simply behave as though I have a duty to do it because I am childless and single. I've been getting ready for my mother's 60th birthday for the last 2 weeks. My goal was to do something unique, something that would genuinely bring her joy. I bought a modest country home 6 months ago as an investment. It's a simple 2-bedroom home with a lovely backyard that is encircled by trees and blooming bushes. I thought this would be the ideal present for my mother when I was paying the mortgage. For years, she and her father had discussed retiring to a peaceful place. She would remark, "I just want a peaceful place where your father and I can enjoy our golden years," when we spoke on the phone on Sundays. I concluded that they would love this house. Along with a handwritten letter outlining my intention to transfer the property to her when I paid off the mortgage, I made a tiny gift box and placed the house paperwork inside. A number of printed pictures of the house were also given, including the master bedroom with its bay window, the large kitchen with granite countertops, and the lovely outside. I pictured the joy on her face when she opened it, perhaps even happy tears. I wanted her to give me a sincere look of gratitude for once. Mom called to remind me of the celebration 3 days before to her birthday. When she said, "We're having everyone at our house. Your Aunt Marge and Uncle Pete don't want to go to a restaurant. They're too old for that nonsense." "Don't worry, Mom." I assured them that I would be present. She remarked, "Mark and Diana pooled their money to buy me a car," with satisfaction in her voice. "Isn't it unbelievable? A whole car." My stomach grew constricted. "That's wonderful." Her question was direct. "What are you getting me?" I said, "It's a surprise," attempting to seem enigmatic rather than protective. She gave a snort. "Jenna, I'm expecting something exceptional from you. After all, you make a fine living." I sat at my kitchen counter feeling disappointed after we hung up. I felt the weight of my mother's expectations like a physical burden. She made sure I understood my position by reminding me frequently that I earned well. I was the family bank. But I brushed those thoughts aside. I was giving her a house, for goodness sake. She would finally see how much I cared, how much I was willing to sacrifice for her happiness. I pictured her face when she realized what was in that little box, and my spirits lifted again. On the morning of Mom's birthday, I stopped by the florist and picked up an extravagant bouquet of her favorite flowers, pink roses, white lilies, and baby's breath. It cost nearly $200, but I wanted it to be perfect. Then I grabbed the small gift box from my bedroom dresser, where I'd been keeping it safe, and headed to my parents' house. When I arrived, the party was already in full swing. The driveway was packed with cars, and I could hear laughter from inside. I balanced the bouquet in one arm and the gift box in my other hand as I rang the doorbell. Dad opened the door. "Oh, Jenna, you're here. Everyone's already arrived." I stepped inside and looked around for Mom. She was in the dining room, arranging platters of food. "Happy birthday, Mom," I said, moving in for a hug. She barely looked up. "Oh, Jenna, put your things down somewhere and help me with these appetizers." I found a vase in the kitchen cabinet, filled it with water, and arranged my bouquet. I carried it into the living room, placing it on the coffee table where everyone could admire it. Mom walked in carrying a tray of deviled eggs. She frowned at the flowers. "Those are taking up too much space. People will need to put their drinks down." She picked up the vase and carried it away, disappearing into the kitchen. I told myself not to be hurt. Mom was just busy with the party. She'd appreciate my real gift later. Everyone gathered around the dining table for lunch. My relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins chatted loudly as they passed dishes back and forth. Mom sat at the head of the table, beaming as everyone complimented her cooking. After the meal, it was time for presents. Mark and Diana stood up, exchanging conspiratorial smiles. Mom, Dad, everyone, if you could all step outside for a moment, Mark announced. Diana and I have something special to show you. We all filed out onto the front lawn. There, parked at the curb with a giant red bow on the hood, was a new silver sedan. Not luxury-level expensive, but certainly not cheap either. Oh my God! Mom screamed, clasping her hands to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears as she turned to embrace my siblings. I can't believe you did this! Everyone applauded. Dad put his arm around Mom as they posed for photos in front of their new car. I stood to the side, still clutching my small gift box, feeling strangely invisible despite being right there. As everyone settled back inside, the gift-giving continued. Aunt Marge gave Mom a casserole dish. Uncle Pete presented a gift card to her favorite department store. My cousin Tina handed over a hand-knitted scarf. Mom opened each one with theatrical delight, exclaiming over every single item as if it were a priceless treasure. Finally, it was my turn. Jenna, what did you bring? Dad asked, all eyes turning to me. I stepped forward and handed Mom the small gift box, wrapped in silver paper with a delicate blue ribbon. Happy birthday, Mom. She took it, her smile fading as she weighed the small box in her hands. This is it. My heart raced. Yes, it's a surprise. It's so small, she said, her disappointment evident. Diana snickered. Wow, Jenna, you couldn't even splurge on the packaging? That's pretty stingy for someone with your salary. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. I'll open this later, she said, placing my gift on the side table without even unwrapping it. Let's see what Cousin Robert brought. I felt like I'd been slapped. The bouquet had been ignored, and now my main gift, the most significant gift of all, was being set aside without even a glance. But I bit my tongue, not wanting to create a scene at her birthday party. The afternoon dragged on. More relatives presented their gifts, bath salts, scented candles, a blouse that was definitely the wrong size. Mom opened each one with enthusiasm, gushing over the thoughtfulness of everyone. Meanwhile, she kept shooting me disapproving glances, as if I had committed some terrible social faux pas. Mark and Diana weren't helping. They kept exchanging knowing looks and whispering to each other whenever Mom looked my way. At one point, Diana loudly said, "Some people just don't understand what a milestone birthday means," while staring directly at me. By mid-afternoon, I needed a break from the tension. I excused myself to step outside, partly to get some fresh air and partly to make a quick call to my assistant about a presentation due on Monday. The cool breeze helped clear my head, and for a few minutes, I could pretend I was somewhere else. When I came back inside, I headed toward the kitchen for a glass of water. That's when I saw it. My gift box, still wrapped, sitting in the trash can beneath the sink. Next to it were the mangled remains of my expensive bouquet, the petals crushed and stems broken. I stood frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. My mother had thrown away my gift, without even opening it. The house, documents, the letter I'd written, pouring my heart out. The photos all tossed away like garbage. "Oh, would you look at that?" came Diana's voice from behind me. She and Mark were standing in the doorway, watching me stare at the trash can. "Looks like your gift found the ride home," Mark added with a smirk. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A strange calm settled over me, like a protective shield. Without a word, I turned around, walked past my sneering siblings, and headed upstairs to collect my purse. On my way out, I scribbled a quick note. "Mom, you should really look at what was in that box before throwing it away. Jenna." I stuck it to the refrigerator with a magnet where she'd be sure to see it. Then I walked out the front door without saying goodbye to anyone. Nobody called after me. Nobody noticed I was leaving. Or maybe they just didn't care. Back in my apartment, I poured myself a generous glass of Cabernet and sank onto my couch. The silence felt healing after hours of forced smiles and pointed comments. I kicked off my heels and pulled up my banking app, staring at the recurring transfer scheduled to go to my parents' account on the first of the month. $1,500 every month for 3 years. My phone started ringing around an hour after I'd left the party. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I ignored it. It rang again, and again, and again, and again. On the fifth call, I finally answered. "Hello, Jenna." My mother's voice was sweet as honey, not a trace of the disappointment or disdain she'd shown earlier. "Darling, why did you leave so suddenly? We were worried. And, well, I opened your gift." "Oh, Jenna, a house. It's absolutely beautiful. Those photos, your father and I are just overwhelmed. We can't wait to see it in person." The sudden change in her tone made my stomach turn. "So you found it? In the trash?" There was a pause. "The trash? No, that must have been a mistake. Someone must have moved it by accident. I saw it with my own eyes, Mom. My gift was in the garbage, along with the flowers I brought you." "Well, there must be some misunderstanding. But I've corrected it now. The house looks absolutely perfect. Those big windows in the living room. The lovely garden." I took a long sip of wine. "I'm glad you like the photos, Mom, because that's all you're getting." "What do you mean?" Her voice sharpened. "I mean, I've changed my mind. I'm not giving you the house." But you can't do that. It's my birthday gift. It's already promised. You threw it in the trash, remember? Before you even knew what it was." "That was before I knew." "Jenna, don't be ridiculous. Your father and I love that house. We've already started talking about how we'll arrange the furniture. Which bedroom will be ours." "Too bad," I said, surprised by how calm I felt. "The gift is cancelled." "You can't do this," she shouted, her sugary tone completely gone now. "I'll sue you. I have your note that proves you intended to give us the house. That's a binding promise." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Go ahead and sue me, Mom. I have photos of my gift in your trash can. Feel free to spend money on a lawyer, but you won't get my house." The string of obscenities that followed was impressive, even for my mother. I waited until she ran out of breath. "Goodbye, Mom," I said and hung up. I took another sip of wine, then opened my banking app again. With one final tap, I canceled the $1,500 monthly transfer to my parents' account. 3 years and $54,000 later, I was finally cutting the financial cord. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications, text messages, missed calls, voicemails, all from my family. I scrolled through them as I sipped my coffee, feeling strangely detached. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I blocked their numbers one by one. Then I went through my social media accounts and blocked them there too. It felt like cleaning house, removing the toxicity that had been draining me for years. I threw myself into work that week, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. 2 weeks passed without any contact from my family. I'd expected to feel guilty or sad, but instead, I felt lighter. No more Sunday anxiety before my mother's weekly calls. No more scheduling my budget around their needs. No more walking on eggshells to avoid criticism. Then, one Tuesday evening, my phone rang with an unknown number. I assumed it was the food delivery I'd ordered, so I answered without thinking. "Hello, Jenna." My mother's voice was immediately recognizable, even through the phone. "Why haven't you been answering our calls?" I sat up straighter. "I blocked your numbers." "Well, that's mature," she scoffed. "I'm calling because the money didn't come through this month." "Of course. Not 'I miss you' or 'Can we talk?' Just straight to the money." "I canceled the transfers," I said calmly. "You and Dad will need to pay for your utilities and groceries yourselves from now on." There was a moment of stunned silence. "Then, you can't do that. We're counting on that money. You've been getting $1,500 from me every month for 3 years, Mom. That's $54,000. What did you think would happen after you threw my gift in the trash and threatened to sue me? I was upset. You can't punish us financially because of one little argument. It wasn't little to me, I replied. And it wasn't just an argument. It was the final straw. She started crying then. Loud, theatrical sobs that had worked on me countless times before. How will we manage? Your father's pension isn't enough. We have bills, Jenna. I'm sure Mark and Diana will step up, I said. After all, they're such thoughtful children. They bought you a car, remember? They have families to support. And I don't. I countered. I'm just the bank of Jenna, right? No needs or feelings of my own. You're being cruel, she said between sobs. No, Mom. I'm being fair. For the first time in years. I hung up and blocked that number too. Then I stood at my apartment window, looking out at the city lights. Part of me wondered if I was being too harsh. But the larger part, the part that had seen my gift discarded without a second thought, knew I was finally doing the right thing. For me, the weeks turned into months. Fall came, bringing cooler temperatures and changing leaves. I hadn't heard from my family since that last phone call, and I was surprised by how complete my life felt without them. I joined a book club, started taking weekend hiking trips, and even went on a few dates. For the first time in my adult life, I was spending my money and time on myself, not on obligations to people who saw me as nothing more than a resource. One Saturday morning in November, 2 months after my mother's birthday, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but sometimes my neighbor's packages got delivered to my apartment by mistake. I opened the door without checking the peephole. My mother stood in the hallway, looking smaller and older than I remembered. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and her normally perfect hair looked unkempt. Without waiting for an invitation, she pushed past me into my apartment and collapsed onto my sofa, her purse clutched tightly in her lap. We're in trouble, Jenna, she said without preamble. Serious financial trouble. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Something like pity stirred in me, but I pushed it down. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not, she snapped, her vulnerability suddenly replaced with anger. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Seeing us struggle while you live in this fancy apartment with your fancy job. I'm not enjoying your pain, Mom. But I'm not responsible for it either. So you're just going to let us sink after everything we've done for you? I sat in the armchair across from her. What exactly have you done for me lately, Mom? Besides criticize my career, dismiss my gifts, and try to manipulate me emotionally and financially. I made a mistake with your birthday gift, she admitted reluctantly. I should have opened it first. It's not about opening it first. It's about throwing it away without even caring what was inside. It's about how you've treated me for years like an ATM machine instead of a daughter. That's not true. We love you. When's the last time you or Dad actually thanked me for the money I've been sending? When's the last time you called just to check on me, not to remind me about some financial obligation or family event I was expected to attend? She stared at me for a long moment, then stood up abruptly. You're an ungrateful daughter, Jenna. After everything we've sacrificed for you. Like what? I challenged. Tell me one sacrifice you've made for me in the last 5 years. The question hung in the air between us. She had no answer. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and walked out, slamming the door behind her. I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilty. Instead, I felt as though a weight I'd been carrying for years had finally been lifted from my shoulders. The confrontation I'd been dreading was over, and I had survived it without caving into emotional manipulation. That evening, I called the real estate agent handling the country house. I've decided to keep it, I told her. I'll be using it as my weekend getaway place. That's wonderful, she said. It's such a charming property. You'll love spending time there. I think I will, I replied, smiling to myself. The house that was meant to be a gift for my mother would now be a gift to myself, a symbol of my new beginning. 3 more weeks passed without any contact from my family. Christmas decorations started appearing in store windows, and my office began planning the annual holiday party. I found myself looking forward to the season for the first time in years. No obligation to buy expensive gifts for everyone. No dreading the inevitable comments about my single status at family gatherings. I spent a weekend at my country house, bringing cleaning supplies and some basic furniture. The place had good bones, as they say, hardwood floors, a fireplace in the living room, lots of natural light. I hung a few pictures, arranged bookshelves, and planted bulbs in the garden that would bloom in spring. It felt good to make the space my own. My cousin Rachel called me one evening. She was the only family member I hadn't blocked, mainly because she lived across the country and rarely got involved in family drama. "I heard what happened," she said, after we'd exchanged pleasantries. "Diana's been telling everyone you abandoned the family." I laughed without humor. "Of course she has. How are they doing, really?" Rachel hesitated. "They're struggling. They had to sell the car Mark and Diana bought. Apparently, they were behind on mortgage payments. She also let slip that you were going to give them a house before everything went south." "Is that true?" "Yeah. I bought a country house as an investment property, but I was planning to give it to them for Mom's birthday. I even put the documents and photos in a gift box. She threw it in the trash without opening it." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "Wow. Do you ever think about reconciling with them?" I thought about it, trying to be honest with myself. "No, I don't. I spent years being their financial safety net while getting nothing but criticism in return. I'm done." "I get it," Rachel said. "Just know that Diana's been trying to get everyone to take sides. Some people are buying her version of events, but others aren't so sure. I appreciate the heads up, but I'm not really concerned about family gossip anymore." After we hung up, I considered Rachel's news. My parents selling the car didn't surprise me. They'd always been terrible with money. What did surprise me was how little guilt I felt. The old Jenna would have immediately started calculating how much she could afford to send them, even after everything that had happened. The new Jenna understood that wasn't her responsibility. A week later, I ran into Mark at the grocery store. I was picking up ingredients for a dinner party I was hosting for friends from work. He was in the wine aisle, staring at the cheaper bottles. "Jenna," he said, startled when he noticed me. "Mark," I nodded, planning to keep walking. "Wait," he called after me. "Can we talk for a minute?" I stopped, shopping basket still in hand. "What about?" He looked uncomfortable. "Mom and Dad, they're really struggling, Jenna. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof from the stress." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and meant it. I didn't wish them ill health. "They need help," he pressed. "Financial help. And where are you and Diana in all this? You two gave Mom a car for her birthday. Surely you can help them with their bills." He shifted his weight. "We have families to support. Kids, mortgages. And I don't? My money is just up for grabs because I'm single." "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. It's what all of you have always meant." I started to walk away, then turned back. "Remember what you said when you saw my gift in the trash? Looks like your gift found the ride home." Those words helped me see you all clearly for the first time. I'm done being the family bank. My heart was remarkably stable as I left. Once, such a discourse would have left me trembling with fear, caught between duty and rage. All I could feel now was a serene assurance that I was headed in the right direction. I came to understand that I had formed my own family, one founded on respect for one another and sincere love, rather than blood connections and material expectations, as my friends sat around my dining table that evening, laughing and telling tales over the food I had cooked. My friend Tura exclaimed, "To new beginnings," as she raised her glass in toast. I added, "To boundaries," as I slammed my glass into hers. My parents' legal business issued me an official letter the next day. They were demanding that I either transfer the deed or pay them money because they said I had promised them the country house in a legally binding contract. I sent the letter to the legal department of my business. Having access to legal advice was one of the benefits of working for a huge business. My lawyer responded before the end of the week, stating that a birthday present that was never truly delivered or accepted did not amount to a binding contract. She also brought up the photos I had of the present being thrown away, which demonstrated that the offer had been turned down. Their lawyer never got back to me. I adapted to my new routine as winter progressed, spending weekends in my rural home and weekdays in my city flat. A friendly retriever mix that I acquired from the neighborhood shelter enjoyed running in my yard's open area. I began studying about native plants when I joined a community garden close to my weekend home. A professor of literature who resided in the same town as my rural home, and I had a few dates. I didn't miss the ongoing criticism or the monthly drain on my finances. The Sunday phone calls that usually made me feel inadequate were not missed. Being cautious around my mother's emotions and my siblings' jealousy wasn't something I missed. The thing that shocked me the most was how fast the guilt subsided. I had been indoctrinated to think that family came first, no matter what. That indoctrination was broken when I discovered my present in the trash, actual, tangible evidence of their low regard for me. My parents were considering downsizing to a flat, according to what Rachel told me. The argument between Mark and Diana about who should aid them more. It no longer felt like my problem. I could be labeled cold or heartless by others for severing my ties to my family. Perhaps I am. However, after years of being taken advantage of and ignored, I at last came to the straightforward realization that sometimes leaving is the most freeing thing you can do.